Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be going through the Vim Yoink plugin, Vim Yoink, by Farmulin. So what this plugin does is it essentially maintains a history of all your previous yanks. So say I yanked 3 words. So I yanked there has never, right? And if I paste, it'll paste there has never. Okay, so if I come here and type in Yanks, the command is provided by the plugin. It will show me okay, I still have the previous history. Let me actually clear Yanks. Okay, and then do Yanks. Okay, first we'll check this history. Okay, so by default, if you clear your Yanks with the clear Yanks command, it will only maintain the latest yank that you had. So in our case, there has never. So if we come here and then yank another 3 words, yank 3 words, just like wine, and then come here and then yank another 3 words, just as water, and then come here and yank another 3 words, we weep for, and then just the last one, yank another 3 words, what if a. Okay. So now if we do yanks, we see here at the bottom, what if a is the latest yank, and then the one before that was we weep for, and then before that was just as water, before that was just like wine, and the first one that we ever did was there has never. So now we have 5 yanks in history, and what you can do is paste your latest one, which is what if a, but then you can hit Control N to go back in history. So we weep for was the previous one. If we just look at the yanks, now we weep for is the top one, and if we press Control N again, it will do the just as water one. So if you do Control N, it's just as water. Control N, it goes down again, and if we look at the yanks, just like wine, it's moved just like wine to the top. Okay, but if we move away here and hit yanks again, just like wine is not at the top. It's back to the previous structure it had, where there has never was the first yank, and then what if a was the latest yank. So it doesn't actually change the yank history, but when you are up here and hitting Control N, so okay, I have to paste, right? It pastes what if a, which was the latest yank. If I hit Control N and go down, it goes down until the first yank that it ever recorded. And if I hit Control P, it goes back up the history, up until the latest yank. Okay, so it's P, it's weirded really. So P is for forward, so P is going forward in history, so forward is going up. If I show you here, forward goes up and then back goes down. So P for forward and then N for back going down. Okay, so again, N going back going down, P going forward as in going up. Okay, so that's the basic functionality of this, and that in and of itself is pretty useful. But what if this history over here, right? What if you actually wanted to permanently change the history? So say we wanted we weep for to be at the top, to be the latest one, not what if a. You can do that. You can cycle through the history. So in particular, if you do, if we just need to have a look at the things here again. Just remember, what if a was the one at top. We want to move we weep for to the top, and move what if a to the bottom. To do this, you do open bracket y, right? Now if we look at the history, we weep for is now at the top, and what if a is now at the bottom. So it cycled the whole thing up one. So the proper terminology is that it rotated upwards. Well, Yeah, it did rotate upwards. It rotated. Okay, I'm not going to say the proper word. You saw what happened, right? To bring the previous one to the top, to bring the previous one forward, we had to do open bracket y. So now if we check again, VB4 now went to the bottom, and just as water went up. And we can keep doing this. You can even give it a numbered argument. So if I can just get this here, if we get Yanks again, so let's say we wanted there has never to be at the top, and then these two will go to the bottom. You can give it a numbered argument, so 2 open bracket y. So now you can see at the bottom here, there has never is at the top. So if we look at the Yanks again, there has never is at the top, and the previous two went to the bottom. And in the same way, we can rotate in the opposite direction. So if we rotate in the opposite direction once, we get just like y, and it'll come to the top. And you can do that with close square bracket y, and now just like y is at the top. And you can do the same with you can also give this one numbered arguments. So if we do 2 close square bracket y, trying to think, it's going to the top, VB4 will go to the top. So if we do 2 close bracket y, VB4 is now at the top. And yeah, that's actually all the things with this. That's all that the plugin does. There's also 2 other commands which actually I'll show after I go through the settings. So again, by default, this plugin doesn't map anything. It doesn't affect Vim behavior. You have to map the stuff manually yourself. It's all in the docs, but it's all here as well. So these 2 are the mappings for the control N and the control P for say I paste some, well, if I yank something there and yank something there, and I paste, and if I control, oh, okay, this Vim buffer isn't loaded. Okay, let me not do anything weird. Okay, so control N, control P, you know what those are. And then here's the square bracket y and square bracket y again for the rotating. And then yeah, you have to just remap P and capital P to work with yoink paste. You just have to do this for the plugin to work. And then the same thing with y, except yeah, it's y in normal mode and y in visual mode. And then there's another mapping for control equals, which essentially executes the equals command in Vim, which itself is meant to format text using an external program. So if you're someone who does that, you can do that. I'm not someone who does, so I'm not really going to show it here. And then one other cool thing is you can sync the system clipboard to the, well, just the Vim's clipboard in general, and as well as the yoink yank history. So if you go to your vimrc and then just set unnamed plus, set clipboard equal unnamed plus or unnamed. I use unnamed plus because it just works for me. Essentially, it will, if you use the first option, it will sync your star register. Depending on what operating system you use, results may vary. But if you use the unnamed plus, it will sync both of these to your system clipboard. So whenever you go to a browser or something, so if I try and paste something here, right? If I just yank this and paste, we get that. But if say I go to a new terminal and I, say echo hello. I know it's really tiny, but bear with me. If I echo hello over here and I try to paste, it's synced by with this setting over here. So in my opinion, it's worth having. I know by default Vim it doesn't interfere with the normal clipboard, but I find having a synced clipboard just makes life easier, and yeah. So there's that. Now coming to the actual settings. Oh yeah, I did mention that it will sync with the Yank history. So I think from the system clipboard, it's whenever you focus the Vim window, whatever's in your system clipboard will just get added to the Yank history. So it won't sync your entire clipboard history outside of Vim, if that made sense. But anyways, some settings, you can set the max history over here. So by default, it just tracks the last 10 things, the last 10 yoinks you made. You can sync numbered registers. So if I come here to Yanks, if you have this option on, right? If I, by default, it's 0. But if I have it as 1, it will, one second, it will sync the numbered registers. So it'll sync registers 0, 1, 2, and 3 to hold whatever the plugin history is holding. So in register 2 will be this, in register 1 will be this, in register 0 will be this. You can choose to include delete operations. By default it doesn't, but if you set it to 1, whenever you delete, that adds, like if you delete a line, that adds to yoink history. So if I look at the Yanks, well, I actually need to reload. So if I source this file, okay, now it's complaining about this. It usually does work, but I'm too lazy to pause the recording. So now if I do that, the DD. So if I do Yanks, the latest one is set clipboard unnamed plus. If I do this, it should have updated the Yanks here. Yeah, so that line I deleted, yeah, let yoink include is now at the top. So that's what that does. Yoink save persistency. You can choose to permanently save, persist the Yank history between Vim sessions. By default, this is 0. And if you want that functionality, you need to have a NeoVim installed and not just vanilla Vim. I'll get to details on how this is done. Next is yoink auto format. So again, when I was talking about the equals operation where you can format using the equal, I'm not sure what the operation is called. It's called, it's a filter operation. You can read in the docs about it. I haven't really used it much, and I need to do some research to figure that out. But yeah, if you want that by so that after you paste it just auto formats or auto filters with that command, you can set that here. Let g yoink move cursor to end of paste. By default, whenever you paste something in Vim, so if I take this, whenever you paste something in Vim, it puts you to the beginning of the paste. So if you don't want that, right, you can do that, and hopefully, I hope the source works properly. So if I paste it, it now keeps the cursor at the end of the paste. Default rotating does, okay, yeah. So by default, the default setting is 1. If you see us with the Yanks, actually, so I'm trying to think how many would I have to do there? 8. So if we do Yank S and we just keep doing this, okay, so by default you can do this infinitely. And the Yanks history, yeah, you can do this infinitely with 1. I think if you set it to 0, then it doesn't infinitely cycle. So if we do Yanks, so it's the equal sign at the top, and if I do 7, that, actually I don't know, either if you have trouble, if yours clamps, just change the setting. Next we have include named registers. So it says if the setting is 1, which is the default, then it will record a history for every register. So by default it's only recording the history for the default register, which is the double quotes, which is this guy. It's saving the history for the default register, and for like all the named registers, register A, blah blah blah. You can turn this off so it only tracks the default register. The only issue I have with this is I actually don't know how to change the histories of the other registers, so it's never been useful to me. And then yoink system clipboard on focus. This is what I was talking about earlier. If you had the set clipboard to unnamed plus thing, when set to 0, the system clipboard feature described below will be disabled. So if you want to forcibly disable that, just set to 0. And that's about it. So as mentioned earlier, if I hit, if you paste and then you hit Control, I don't know, does this buffer even have the, no, it should have, Yanks. 1 second. So if I paste and Control N, okay, I'm just going to switch to the other buffer. So if I paste here and then Control N to do this, if you don't want to hit Control N and Control P, there's a special mapping here which the guy provides, which you can make it so that you can map P to do the scroll back in history. So if I come here, okay, that's sorted. If I hit P and hit P, okay, no, it doesn't work here. Nothing's working today. I'm sure I can just yank that line. If I can just apologies, it's just that this Vim buffer, I'm guessing I didn't load properly. But yeah, if I do this, that should work. So if I paste, yeah, okay. So now if I paste, if I hit P and hit P again, it now starts scrolling through the history of the yoinks by itself. But I used to have this setting, but it turned out to be so annoying because I think if you paste, right, if I hit P there, let's say I go 14 down and hit P again, you see it goes all the way to the top and tries to just scroll back through history. So it turned out to be more annoying than useful in my case. But if you really want that, you can have that. But yeah, I'm trying to think, what did I fail in showing? Oh, the set system clipboard. It should work normally. Obviously, I don't think I need to show you the syncing of the clip. It works. If you put in your vimrc, it'll work properly. Oh, one other thing. So the saving the persistency, will be done in a moment. The persistency of if you do have the save persistency thing, it can be annoying if you have 2 Vim buffers open and you don't know which one is gonna save the Yanks to history. So let's take this one with the 6 Yanks here, the what if A up until that. We can do rsh ada. So write shada, which is the shared data folder for neovim. So if you come here, if you cd to local /share /nvim /shada, you'll find a file here called main.shada. This is what it's that's where like the shared data, a lot of the vim, neovim in particular, only neovim, a lot of the persistent data it stores, it stores there. So like plugins can use that file. So if I write, right, it will save this yank history to that shared data. Oh wait, it's not right, sorry. W for write, actually, So what I did there was actually read. So if I do Yanks, or not, okay. So I need to write first. Write shadow. I think if I can, if you look at Yanks here, and if I read, hopefully this works. Okay. Typically you would be able to write here, and I think I can just open a new Vim instance to show you this. So if we do check Yanks over here, okay, then I don't know. It's not something I use much as well. Yeah. Well, it says it's supposed to, that's how you would sync it between Windows. To be honest, I really just use this plugin for the very useful scroll back in history, and then I use these mappings, for rotating the history. I never really have a need to write Shada, or I just thought of mentioning that. But yeah, let me stop talking. Cheers.